And this verse says, Dehi nityam avadyo yam, dehi sarvasya bharata, tasmat sarvani bhutani, natvam suchitam arhasi. O descendant of Bharata, he who dwells in the body can never be slain. Therefore, you need not grieve for any living being. Purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. The Lord now concludes the chapter of instruction on the immutable spiritual soul. Immutable means it cannot change. In describing the immortal soul in various ways, Lord Krishna establishes that the soul is immortal and the body is temporary. Therefore, Arjuna, as a Kshatriya, should not abandon his duty out of fear that his grandfather and teacher, Bhisma and Drona, will die in a battle. On the authority of Sri Krishna, one has to believe that there is a soul different from the material body, not that there is no such thing as soul, or that living symptoms develop at a certain stage of material maturity, resulting from the interaction of chemicals. Though the soul is immortal, violence is not encouraged. But at the same time of war, it is not discouraged when there is actual need for it. That need must be justified in terms of the sanction of the Lord and not capriciously. Well, not capriciously means not at the whim of a person. You have to have sanction in order in order to kill someone. So in the particular case now, where Arjuna is facing uh, uh, Duryodhana and is facing uh, his relatives, there's a bona fide reason to fight and kill. But normally, you just can't go out and kill someone and say, "Well, they're not dead; they have an eternal soul." That would be murder. But if there's a legitimate reason, as Arjuna has, and it's between two people that are equal in strength, and then that's permitted when there's a dispute and when there's a fight between those that are following the principles of Dharma and those who are breaking the principles of Dharma. Now, unfortunately, Duryodhana was violating the principles of Dharma, and so also for Dronacharya and and some others who tried to strip Draupadi. So therefore, they did violate the principles of Dharma, and because of that, they were destined to be killed. So in the purport, let me read a little bit more of it again. It says, the Lord now concludes the chapter of instruction on the immutable spirit soul. So the soul never changes. The body is always changing. The soul never changes. In describing the immortal soul in various ways, Lord Krishna establishes that the soul is immortal and the body is temporary. Therefore, Arjuna, as a Kshatriya, should not abandon his duty out of fear that his grandfather and teacher, Bhisma and Drona, will die in the battle. On the authority of Sri Krishna, one has to believe that there is a soul different from the material body, not that there is no such thing as soul, or that living symptoms develop at a certain stage of material maturity, resulting from the interaction of chemicals. Now, this is the belief of nonsense modern scientists. They believe in the chemical uh, origin of the living entity, which is nonsense. By the way, they've never been able to perform a in other words, a experiment in which they can create a living entity from chemicals. They can't even make an ant from chemicals. So, and science is observation, experimentation, and then theory. Well, they've never performed an experiment in which they created a living entity from chemicals. So it's not science. Though the soul is immortal, violence is not encouraged. But at the same time of war, it is not discouraged when there is actual need for it. That need must be justified in terms of the sanction of the Lord and not capriciously. Now, this is an interesting statement. Now, how do we know that the Lord sanctions a battle, a war? Well, if there is one side of the on the battlefield are people who are violating the principles of Dharma. Well, yeah, I mean Duryodhana and others, they were trying to strip Draupadi. That's complete violation of the principles of Dharma. And there were also, uh, well, that was enough. That's enough to be a a reason to go to war. You don't strip women in public, or you don't strip them in private either, especially women that are married and are actually devotees. So that's a very sinful thing. So, under the authority of Sri Krishna, one has to believe that there is a soul different from the material body, not that there is no such thing as soul, or that living symptoms develop at a certain stage of material maturity resulting from the interaction of chemicals. Well, this is what the scientists are trying to do. They're trying to create a Frankenstein from chemicals, and they've never succeeded. They can't even create an ant from chemicals. Now, how are they going to create a human being from chemicals? So all their statements are basically nonsense because they can't prove it. They can't prove that living entities are produced by chemicals. Therefore, they have no concept of how living entities have come into existence. Uh, they make a lot of, let's say, theories, but they're not valid because if you have a theory, okay, but now you have to have an experiment to prove that your theory is valid. They have never created a living entity from chemicals. Why don't you look that up? Sometimes they claim they've done that, but they start with living entities, and but never from chemicals. But yet they write books on chemical evolution of living entities. This is years ago when Prabhupada was here, and Bhakti Swarup Damodar. This man came from to the Berkeley uh, University of Berkeley, and he wrote a book, Chemical Evolution of Living Entities. So Prabhupada told Bhakti Swarup Damodar Maharaj, he said, "You go and ask him a question. If I give you all the chemicals, can you produce a living being?" And he did it. And he asked that man, the PhD, that was his lecture was, how life comes from chemicals. And Bhakti Swarup Damodar said, "If I give you all the chemicals, can you produce a living being?" And the so-called scientist said, I cannot do it." So they're making big statements, but they're not scientific. If you have a theory, you have to prove it's true by experimentation. So where's the experiment that you create something living from chemicals? There's no experiment. Therefore, it's not science. It's nonsense. And what does it say?
I just asked ChatGPT, have scientists created living entities using chemicals?
Yeah.
The answer is yes. Scientists have made significant progress in creating living entities or life-like systems using chemicals. Although the achievement of creating fully synthetic life remains a work in progress.
That means no, not yes.
Exactly. Here are the few notable milestones in this field. Number one, synthetic cells and protocells. Researchers have developed synthetic cells, often called protocells, which are simplified models of cells created from scratch using basic chemical components. These protocells can mimic certain properties of living cells,
Certain properties.
such as self-replication and metabolism, though they are not considered fully living organisms. So that's
There you are.
the first thing.
Big no.
Number two, so this is the next milestone. Minimal genomes. Scientists at J. Craig Venter Institute uh, Venter Institute created a bacterium with a minimal genome in 2010. They synthesized the entire genome of Mycoplasma mycoids and inserted into a host cell, resulting in a self-replicating bacterium controlled by synthetic
The
genes.
host cell is the living entity. Yeah, already.
Yeah. This work demonstrated the ability to design and construct genomes from chemical components. So it's again partially.
Is a genome living? Is it a
No,
living being?
it's just genome is a coded, protein. But then if the host put it into the host cell, and then they get to tweak those uh, genomes. Next is number three, artificial life forms. In 2016, the researchers at Harvard University and the University of Cambridge created artificial life forms called xenobots. These tiny biological machines were designed using computer algorithm and constructed from frog cells. Xenobots
So
can,
they're starting from something that's living.
yeah,
Life comes from life.
Xenobots can move, work in groups, heal themselves when damaged. Then fourth milestone is chemical systems mimicking life. Scientists have developed chemical.
Mimicking life.
Mm.
It doesn't mean it is life, but it looks like life. Go ahead.
Scientists have developed chemical systems that exhibit life-like behaviors such as self-assembly, replication, and evolution. These systems use non-biological molecules to replicate some aspects of biological life,
Some aspects of.
yeah, providing insights into the origins of life and potential for creating synthetic life forms. While
Potential.
Mhm.
That means they haven't done it.
And in summary, while these advancements are impressive, creating a fully autonomous, self-sustaining living organisms entirely from non-living chemicals remains a complex challenge.
That means they haven't done it. And they're flummoxed, they're confused.
The research in this field continues to evolve, offering exciting possibilities for the future.
We're very excited. We're very excited.
This is the same thing that they say. Keep on giving a future hope.
Give more grants. Give more grants.
But when it comes to the point of egg, they say like it's scientifically being manufactured. I mean,
Which one?
egg.
Egg.
They manufactured a pig.
Egg.
Egg? They did?
That's what they claim, isn't it? Now?
Look that up. Did they manufacture? Did they make a artificial egg? Prabhupada said they can't even make an egg. A living egg.
I don't think they have. So they said scientists have made progress in creating artificial eggs or egg-like structures, particularly in the context of reproductive biology and regenerative medicine.
But is it or is it not?
Artificial egg white and yolk. In food industry, there have been efforts to create plant-based.
Okay, they're not getting life out of the egg, but for other purposes they are creating it.
Well, plant-based. Plants are living entities. Right? So, in other words, you're just trying to imitate an egg by using plants. So life comes from life. It doesn't come from dead chemicals. They haven't done it yet. Let's put it like that. Done what? They haven't created a living entity from chemicals.
3D printed ovaries.
Ovaries?
Yeah.
Women's ovaries.
So in 2017, scientists at the Northwestern University created 3D printed ovaries using a gelatin-based scaffold seeded with immature egg cells.
Again, they're starting with living entities.
Yeah. When implanted into sterilized mice, these artificial ovaries restored fertility, allowing mice to conceive and give birth to healthy offspring. The research is still in early stages but shows potential for future applications in fertility treatments.
Again, a post check, yeah. Okay. So they haven't done it yet. They haven't produced a living entity just from chemicals.
But they keep claiming like this body is all about chemicals.
No what?
They keep claiming that this body is all about chemicals. It's a chemical composition.
What is?
Our body. That's what scientists say.
Is that what scientists say? They say the body is just made of chemicals?
They say like chemical composition.
Well, there are chemicals, but they're being made by the body. But the body's a living entity. The body is like a factory, it produces so many different things.
So there is a comment posted by Manish Prabhu. Prabhu, you want to share it?
Yeah, actually, it's just like a excerpt from the wiki. So I will just read it out.
Okay.
Today, our knowledge is so advanced that we can precisely manipulate life building blocks, DNA,
Wait a
RNA,
minute. Speak louder. Speak louder. Start all over and speak louder.
Yeah. So it goes like, today our knowledge is so advanced that we can precisely manipulate life's building blocks, DNA, RNA, and proteins, to build biological machines and engineer new genomes. Yet, despite all we know, no universal consensus currently exists on life's fundamental definition.
Okay, they're still trying to figure out what life is.
Yeah.
After all the experiments they've done. Well, let's hope they succeed. I doubt it.
Well, there's no way they can do it, right, Maharaj? Because it's
Krishna
the fact
can.
of life. So life can only come in the.
Well, they do it with cyclotrons. They create the life. What do you call it?
The protons.
What?
They collide the protons.
Yeah, but they create the
God particle.
God particle, right? The God particle. What is the God particle anyway? It's something that is material that becomes what? They transform matter. No, they start with what, a liquid, and they make matter or something.
So the God particle is the one that gives mass through their interaction with the Higgs field. So apparently that particular cell gives matter to another. Let's see. This is the process by which particles gain mass through their interaction with the Higgs field. It is a critical component of the standard model of particle physics.
It's not something you're living.
It's definitely not living. It's a manipulation of matter.
Oh, yeah, where
Energy.
energy is turned into matter.
Yes.
Yeah, that's what it is. Well, they're still way behind the mark that they're aiming for. And they'll never get there because only Krishna can produce living entities. Human beings can't produce living entities, but a woman can. So they should, they should experiment and see how a woman produces a living entity. Of course, they've done that already. They still can't do it themselves, starting from scratch. Okay, what's interesting is that the sperm of a man is microscopic, means you can't see it with the raw eye. And when it connects with the ovum of the woman, then it begins to grow. But all the information is in that microscopic sperm, which is a miracle. But it's placed there by Krishna, that the information of how to produce a human body. So when the sperm touches the ovum, then it begins to grow into a full-fledged human body. And a little baby is pushed out of the womb. And then, it's a miracle. They don't know how it's happening. When I say they, the scientists don't know how it's happening. They can say a lot of things, but they really don't know how it's happening. And they can't replicate it with their chemicals. So it's still a mystery how a living entity is produced. And, the whole body of that little baby is perfectly formed. The head, the eyes, the ears, the nose, the legs, the stomach, everything, blood, all in the womb of the mother. So it's still a mystery. Is that right?
Mm-hmm.
They don't know. The mother doesn't know either. To her own body, she doesn't know how it's happening.
Yeah, I mean, scientists themselves don't know. So
Yeah, how's the mother going to know?
Layman won't even.
Yeah. But Krishna knows. And Krishna's controlling the whole thing. Someone has to be controlling it. Somebody knows. Otherwise, it couldn't happen. Nothing happens by itself. Like, if somebody makes a discovery, they put their name on it, right? Right away. Well, no one knows how the baby in the womb is produced. They know some things, but they can't do it, in a test tube themselves, unless they start with the sperm and the ovum of the husband and the wife. So let them make the sperm, let them make the ovum, but they've never been able to do that. So there's a big mystery there, and it's going to continue to be like that because these things are controlled by Krishna. They're not controlled by human beings. Okay, so we're on text, 31 now?
We just completed 30.
Yeah.
31, yeah.
So it's almost finished time.
Yeah, we're almost.
So are there any questions?
Hare Krishna, any questions online?
I got a question. Have the scientists ever made a a sperm.
Let's see.
And sperm is microscopic. We know the scientists have never made an ant, but have they ever made a sperm?
It looks like from the stem cells they did.
Okay, but they're starting from living entities.
Yeah. They only basically so stem cells are the starting point of all the cells.
Yeah. But they're living cells, right?
They're living cells.
Yeah, let them start with non-living things, chemicals. They have these books, chemical evolution. Look that up.
And also,
Yeah.
it's like they're calling it sperm cells, but they are sperm-like. Although these cells are not fully functional sperm.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
The step towards.
Look up chemical evolution. Let's see what it says. Chemical evolution of living beings.
Maharaj, I have a quick question.
Yes.
So there are like billions of cells in the body. Does each cell individually have a soul, or there is like?
Yes. Yes. Each cell is a living being. And the person is the, let's say, the director of all those cells, or is supposed to be. So those cells can revolt also. That's what cancer is. When someone is putting too many poisons into their bodies, some cells revolt, become cancer cells, and eventually kill the person because he's not treating the body correctly.
So what is chemical evolution of living beings? Chemical evolution of living beings refers to the process by which simple chemical compounds underwent complex transformations over time to form the basic building blocks of life, eventually leading to the emergence of living organisms. This concept is central to our understanding of the origin of life on Earth.
This is called nonsense. That whole thing is speculation. They wish that happened.
It encompasses a series of stages, each involving the synthesis and organization of increasingly complex molecules leading to the first forms of life.
Who did that?
So here are the key stages in the chemical evolution. There are like 5 stages. Formation of simple molecules, first phase. And that's where primordial soup hypothesis.
Hypothesis, speculation.
Earth's early atmosphere contained simple molecules such as water, methane, ammonia, hydrogen. Under the influence of energy sources like lightning or ultraviolet radiation, these molecules reacted to form simple organic compounds.
Where's the experiment to prove that?
So, in fact, that's the next thing. In 1953, Stanley Miller and Harold Urey conducted an experiment that simulated early conditions, demonstrating that amino acids, the building blocks of protein, could form from simple inorganic molecules. I don't know why that's not been done since then, but 1953. They experimented and saying simple inorganic molecules have generated proteins, the amino acids.
Yeah, but they're not living beings, the amino acids. They're building blocks of a living being. But if you look up amino acids, they're not living beings. Look that up.
Yeah, definitely. No. Are amino acids living beings? No. Amino acids are not living beings. Amino acids are organic molecules that serve as the building blocks of proteins, which are essential components of living organisms. So it's like there are many. It's like it's basically the body still in a matter dimension.
Well, it's the car without the engine. Yeah, you see, they do so much experimentation, but they never, get the right results. The right result would be you just mix some chemicals and you make a living entity. They're not doing it. It doesn't work. There's something missing, and that is Krishna. Of course, the scientists want to make everything minus Krishna.
Well, without this Vedic knowledge and Krishna's revealing of this truth, there is no way humans can ever find this.
What did you say again?
Without Vedic knowledge and
Yeah,
Krishna revealing the truth, there's no way humans can ever find this truth, because
it's just like building a bridge that leads to nowhere. See, they're spending all this money doing all these experiments, and they're not able to, hit the home run.
but Krishna's creation is also, because he right away denied for any materialist to discover it, because the soul cannot be seen, the soul cannot be.
Yeah. Therefore, for the scientists, it doesn't exist.
It doesn't exist.
But of course, it exists.
It is such a wonderful creation.
Well, I mean, look, Krishna is the supreme chemist. He knows exactly what to do. First of all, how can you experiment on something that you can't see? It's impossible. They can't see the soul. So how are they going to prove that the soul exists? Well, yeah, because someone is existing, right?
Yeah.
And they have consciousness. But how did it happen? They don't know.
It's mind-boggling. I mean, the more we meditate on this fact,
Yeah.
it's like, wow, such a secret to everything.
But
And
yet
it's also enigmatic, like nobody can easily discover it.
but they write books, chemical evolution. Why don't you look that up?
Yeah, that's what I was reading earlier. So the chemical evolution has like 5 aspects they were talking about.
And especially in these modern days, people believe on science rather than on God.
Yeah.
They don't.
So that is the thing. It's like,
No, the scientists are God.
That's what most of I know. Educated idiot, like
Yeah.
Prabhupada gives the blind man.
Just give us another 25 years. We'll all do it. They always, give you a post-dated check about what they're going to do. Like the biggest idiot, this guy works for Meta. He keeps saying, well, by 2050,
God? You said something about God, right?
by 2050, death will be optional. If you want to die, you can die. If you don't want to die,
That's the Calico.
Yeah, Calico, yeah.
But how could they forget, like, we have enemies within each other, and we could, at times we could kill each other.
What do you mean?
I mean, every one of us have like envy to a certain level. So out of anger or something, the other person could hurt and kill the other one. So they can't really say like death is optional at that point of time.
Yeah, but that may be considered more like, human intent. They're saying like there's no natural death also. So basically, like
Like
what they're saying is they think that they figured out that, oh, like for example, they figured out that these chromosomes have these telomeres, those endpoints, and then every time they split, the cells split, those telomeres are, cutting in half. So like that, eventually there is no more telomeres, then cells don't split anymore. So that's basically the death of the body. And then they thought that they can figure out how to extend those things.
So they're saying like they cannot control disease.
So they're trying to work on reverse engineering the system. And what later they found some science, the same way. So first they figured out that they could add to the telomeres, but later another scientist found out that as they added to the telomeres, the cancer probability has gone up. So they don't know that there is somebody who has already thought through all these possibilities. Yeah. I think the simplest point is to accept Krishna and just follow what he says. Any other questions or comments? Maharaj will end the session.
Yes.
Okay.
Haribol, thank you, my dear devotees.